Hey everyone, this is Matthew Kent reporting live from Hurricane Matthew. It's a little bit annoying that this hurricane has the same name as me. There's I think a trending hashtag Matthew sucks or something like that. Guys, no I don't. Be nice to me. Yeah, in all seriousness, no, Hurricane Matthew is right outside my door here as I'm recording this video. Not that bad right now. The wind did knock over a tree in the backyard, but so far the house is safe and everything is relatively calm outside. This video isn't about any of that though. This is theology on the ground, and this is the daily thought for my quiet time video. So, John chapter 2 is where we are today. It's a tricky little passage here, near the beginning of John's gospel, and so I'll read it for you and we'll talk about it. This is John 2:23. Now, when he, Jesus, was in Jerusalem at the Passover feast, many believed in his name when they saw the signs that he was doing. But Jesus, on his part, did not entrust himself to them because he knew all people, and he needed no one to bear witness about man, for he himself knew what was in man. So there's a lot going on right here. First of all, there is the fact that Jesus is not just a mere mortal man. He knows the thoughts and intentions of people's heart. Only God alone can do that. We've covered at this channel at many times in many ways that Jesus displays all evidences of not being just a mere mortal man, does things that mortal men can't do, possesses things that mortal men cannot possess. Jesus is the second person of the Trinity, God incarnate, and any other position on who Jesus is just simply not going to make sense in light of all that the scripture teaches. Now, the other interesting thing here is the fact that Jesus is not entrusting himself to them, even though they believed. Obviously, the Gospel of John hits the point home extremely emphatically that if you believe in Jesus, you'll be saved. We've already seen in John chapter 1, verse 12, where it says that to those who believed in his name, which is the exact same phrase used here, he gave them the right to become children of God. And of course, in the very next chapter, John 3:16, whoever believes will not perish but have everlasting life. And these statements just keep on sort of piling up throughout John's gospel. But here they're believing in his name and he's not entrusting himself to them. What's going on? Well, it does explain that he knew what's in them. He knew what's in their heart. But it sets up this odd dynamic that there's a sense in which belief is a good thing, and it's what John's gospel is pointing you to, but it recognizes that not everything that masquerades under the name believe is necessarily a true, genuine faith. And so this tension is sort of there in John's gospel. So, they're believing in his name, but he's not entrusting himself to them because he knew what was in them. So this belief is not genuine belief. And a couple days ago, we looked at, the passage from James, the famous passage about faith and works. And really, that's an evaluation of faith and just the knowledge that true saving faith is a real thing and that it really transforms people. And, for those of us who are not Jesus, not God, we sort of have to wait and see the fruit. And we know if somebody's life doesn't change, that person really hasn't met God. Whereas Jesus, who is God and can look at the heart, see the heart, can know if somebody professes belief in him, but really their heart is not changed, their heart is cold and unrepentant. The other interesting thing here is about the signs. So he's performed one sign or one miracle so far. It was at the wedding at Cana. It was earlier in the chapter where he turned water into wine. And so it says that they're seeing his signs and believing in him. Now, in other parts of John's gospel, this is where another interesting tension is. Sometimes it's seen as a good thing, like, hey, if you don't believe me, believe the signs. But sometimes people look at the signs and, so I think about John chapter 6 here. There were some people after the feeding of the 5,000 that are now following Jesus, and they're following him because of the sign, the feeding of the 5,000. And Jesus is saying, you're not following me because of the sign, you're following me because you ate the loaves and were filled. So in other words, sign is both positive and negative. Like you really should, a good motivation for believing in Jesus is seeing the signs, but only if you're seeing them as what they really are, like literally signs, like things that are pointing to Jesus. So the people who are just looking at them at miracles, oh, this is so great, there's wine now and there wasn't wine before. Oh, this is so great, we have bread now and we didn't have bread before, we have fish. Those people are sort of missing the point. The fact that Jesus does these things that he does is to point to himself and to point to the reality of who he is, the Messiah, the Son of God, God incarnate, the second person of the Trinity. So all of those things are sort of packed into these, just a couple verses. And if you just sort of read it, you're going through and you read it, it can be something that kind of trips you up. Like, well, wait a minute, they're believing in him, but he's not entrusting himself to them. And it totally is a passage that makes sense in light of the fullness of the Gospel of John and what John is teaching. But I know it's one that used to trip me up. Hopefully it doesn't trip you up, and hopefully if it does, some of the thoughts in this video were helpful in sort of straightening things out for you. Anyways, Lord willing, I'll still be here tomorrow. The hurricane won't blow over my house or anything. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. I can't believe I've done this, I think 68 days in a row. Here's to many more. Take care.